The director of teams here. If you could do me a favor, the document that I have is on the website. So if you could bring up your cell phones and make it much easier to follow if you'd like. If you go to M14hoops.com, M14hoops.com, once you get on the M14 Hoops, click on Chicagoland. And once you click on Chicagoland, it should say like M14 Recruit. If you click on there, I think on the top left or somewhere it'll say PDF, and that's what I have in my hand, just so you can follow along. I'm not going to go over every page and bore you to death. We're not going to be here 8 hours. But I put some information in there for you. Just, you know, when you're bored tonight on a Saturday night, you can peruse it, okay? I gave you a little more than you'd like, so, okay? Everybody there? We're good? Okay. All right, so like I said, my name is Bill Baldridge. Some of you know me. I'm the director of teams. Just a little bit about my background. I've been doing this since the early 90s. I was a high school coach for a very long time. Used to have my own club. Used to work with a group called the Illinois Wolves, which is a very elite Under Armour group. And then I've been here about 2 years. My connection to M14 is the owner, Matt Miller. When he was a high school player, I was a high school coach. And a really good friend of mine was his high school coach. So I've known Matt a very, very long time. All three of my kids who are athletes trained with him at some point. You know, even though I've been doing this a long time, I'm still dad to my own three, so it was easier to work with Matt, and Matt was really good. So Matt kept bugging me to come on over to M14, and so I came over not this past August, but the August before. It's been great. I think we're the premier club, not only in the state of Illinois, but in the Midwest. A lot of the things that we do, most clubs don't provide at all. We're by far the biggest club in Illinois, and I think probably in the next 24 months, we might be the biggest club in the United States. We have 4 locations right now, and I think the track record is that we're doing things, such stuff like today, that most clubs don't do. So very excited. I do have 3 kids that are athletes, so I've gone through the recruiting process as a father, which as much as I know it's still different because I'm like you guys, and you know, I think my kid walks on water, and I get it, so I understand, okay? And I have a Division I player right now. So I'll lean on some of that for you guys, just to kind of walk you through what you're going to be through between 15U and 17U. A couple of things. On Wednesday, we'll have signing day. And you guys are only 15U, but I'm just letting you kind of setting the tone. On Wednesday, we have signing day. We're going to have over 30, probably about 30 to 35 kids sign college recruitment letters on Wednesday. Last year, we had over 20. So that's 50-something since I've been here. No other club is going to put 30-something kids on the boys and girls side in college. They are all great kids, and my goal, my only goal here for the most part, is to find the right fit for school if your son would like to play college basketball at 17U, okay? And that means, the right fit means not always going to the highest level. We have a few girls that had Division I offers that are gonna go Division III. They're going to go to Johns Hopkins, and they're going to play at Wash U, and they're going to play at the University of Rochester, and they're going to play at Carnegie Mellon, because I told them that's a better fit. Mom and Dad financially could make it work even though they had Division I, because that's the right fit. I have a daughter at Western Michigan. Her first year at school, she's a soccer player. She played soccer at the University of Louisville in the ACC. So I don't know anything about girls basketball, which is really good because I was always clapping on the sidelines and I couldn't complain about anything because I don't know anything. But my point about this is, for girls soccer, the ACC is by far the best. It's like, if you know football, it's like the SEC of football. She played there 1 year, played all the time, started all the time, and at the end of the season said, "Dad, I want out of here." So now she's at Western Michigan. She no longer is on private planes. She, you know, she doesn't have the best of everything. She is much happier at Western Michigan, even though she played all the time. So I've gone through it as a father, and I know what it means to find the right fit. So please remember that when you're doing your recruiting and we go through this long journey together for the next 3 years, my job is the right fit, okay? So it doesn't mean always the highest. You know, I played college athletics, I played basketball. I think holds great value. I think there's all kinds of things that they get that other students don't get. One of the big things is you get to meet people all the time with the athletic department. When you step on campus as a college athlete, you have 15 friends right away. If you have older children, you know, going to especially a big school, they're trying to make friends, they're trying to find their way in life. So I'm always going to go back to right fit, right fit, right fit. Okay? And we do have high-level players. We have players at Marquette. We have a girl going to Indiana. We have a girl at Nebraska, Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, but it's really nice what we're doing here, and 35 kids this year is awesome. Okay? All right, couple of things. Twitter. I'm going to go over Twitter for you guys. What should be on your son's Twitter page. Some of you, I'm sure, have Twitter already. We'll just go through it. On our main Twitter page, when AAU season starts, the main AAU Twitter page that you know right now, starting this week, will only go to our 17U players. There'll be a boys handle for high school that will be only for high school except 17U. So we're separating that, and the reason we're doing it is I'm talking to a lot of the college coaches, and they want all of that streamlined. What we're trying to do here is we need our players to be easily found by the college coaches. And when we inundate the Twitter with stuff that's not pertaining to 17U, it makes it harder for the coaches. Make sense? So now, if they're 15U and they do something spectacular and they get a really nice write-up by Prep Hoops, as long as it's a third party, we might put it on there. You know what I mean? But we're going to inundate that 15U page because we know it's important to you and especially the players. But when they become 17U, you understand that we have to make it easy because we're fighting for eyeballs at all times. Okay? It's one of the reasons I'm here is because I'm good at this. I've been doing it a long time. When you look around M14, I am by far the oldest person in the building, which, you know, is good and bad. But that's why Matt has brought me on, because I can call someone, at Minnesota and say, hi, Jason, one of the assistant coaches. I don't have to introduce myself. That's a real advantage, and they know I have integrity, okay? So I'm not trying to sell your son. If he's not Duke worthy, I'm not calling Duke and saying, hey, I have a 5'2" post player, okay? I can't do that, okay? So the Twitter, just to let you know, going forward, 15 and 16U, and we'll send out those handles and everything like that. Your son's Twitter page. Okay, I give you 2 examples in here. I use one, my daughter's done playing. I put hers in there as well. You should have a reasonable Twitter handle, but you have to have Twitter, okay? And I would prefer it was a good question the last seminar, was should it be basketball only? It should be basketball only. It was, if your son or daughter has another Twitter page and it's all personal stuff, okay, all good. I don't know a lot of kids that have Twitter besides athletics. They might have Instagram or Snapchat, but either way, it should be basketball specific. You should have a good picture. I've had 17U boys on Twitter with like their meme or being like like Snoopy, like the college. It's hard enough for me to sell you, and now you don't have your picture of your face or you playing. It's Snoopy. Don't do that. They should be in their high school uniform or their club uniform, playing or smiling or something, so they're easily identifiable. Put your high school number, put your club name, put your club team. Are they 15U, National 1, or whatever the case may be? Put your GPA if it's above a 3. If it's a 1.8, don't have them put their GPA. I know they're young, there's not a lot there, but you'd be surprised what people are putting down, okay? 15U, highlight reel, really not that important because most of them are not playing varsity. We only want varsity highlights on there, okay? So a lot of our 17U guys have a link to click their highlights, okay? When you get older, and we'll go over this later on, but if you have a highlight video of your son, and you want to send it to colleges at 15U, I probably wouldn't recommend it unless they're 7 feet tall. They're not doing a lot of that. No rap music. College coaches don't care about that, okay? I know on Twitter you see all this, the workouts, and they're killing the cones and all that. It doesn't matter. College coaches don't care, okay? And they sure as hell don't care about rap music, okay? So just remember that, okay? You could pin. We put all the schedules on Twitter. They could pin on their bio the schedule for the upcoming AAU season, okay? Also, there's an icon that looks like an envelope that they can put next to their name on Twitter. Make sure they have that. A coach, especially when they get older, they can hit that and they can directly message your son. Hey, Johnny, what time is tomorrow's game? Hey, you guys playing next weekend? It just helps with communication, so then they don't have to go through me for everything, okay? All right, and make sure you have a good Twitter handle, your last name and your first name. I know, it's getting harder and harder, but it shouldn't be Big Shooter or something, you know what I mean? Don't put that, okay? All right, so there's a couple examples of Twitter there that we need. All right. So what are our options for playing college basketball? Everybody knows the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the world. That's Division I. We have Division I, we have Division II, we have Division III, we have NAIA, and then we have JUCO. Division I, there's about 350 schools. That number switches out every year a little bit because schools apply to become Division I. Some schools apply to go down a notch. Scholarship-wise, and I'll go over this again, Division I offers 13 scholarships. Those are full ride at the Division I level, meaning you're not going to pay anything. Division II offers 10 scholarships. And so you say to yourself, well, there's obviously more than 10 players on a team. So what they do is they give percentages. You could get a full ride. So let's say we have 15 slots and I have 10 full rides. I might give him 80%, 50%, 30%. And the way they manipulate that is there's a lot of things that go into that for Division II basketball. I'm going to give him 80% because his mom and dad make too much money. He's not going to get any Pell Grant money. He's not going to get any, he's going to get more money because his grades are terrible and he doesn't have academic money. So there's a big game that's being played, but they have 10 full scholarships to hand out at the Division II level. Division III, no athletic money, but they get around that with academic money, okay? Division I and Division II are easily, if you're a family and you're trying to figure out financially, what are they giving us and what are we going to pay? Division III is the hardest because every school is going to be different. A financial package at the University of Chicago is going to look different than Elmhurst University. It's going to look different than Aurora. Their grants are different. What they offer athletes is different. So like this past year, I'm working with a lot of families. What is the total financial package at this D3 compared to this D3? And you guys are 15U. I'm just trying to give you how the world works, okay? I'm going to give you more information than you really need, okay? So that's how that works. NAIA is like D2. They have about 8 scholarships, and they can divvy it up any way they see fit, okay? All right. I don't know. I put in examples. Obviously, if you're University of Iowa, it's Big Ten, it's Division I, University of Illinois. But there are some lists like D2, Quincy, Lewis University in Romeoville. So if you don't know, all those schools, that's good basketball. If your son can reach 17U and schools are calling him, even at the Division III level, that is a very hard thing to do. And it's really cool. Your kids will understand that when they get a call from a coach and somebody wants them. Don't take that lightly. That's really cool. Because they can call anybody they want. Okay? And then I have Division III like Benedictine or Millikan or Aurora, just to give you examples. Division II kind of gets lost as far as notoriety, but it's very, very good basketball. And then NAIA would be something like Judson, Olivet Nazarene, and things like that. So all good universities, St. Xavier. All right, so when you get older, and these are the questions I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about now, you could start to have with your son. Now he's 15U. I had a son that was 15 years old. I understand, okay? But when they get 17U, we start to hunker down about what is important to them. Meaning, what's their major going to be? Where do they want to go to school? They want to go to the West Coast because it's going to be 80 degrees. I only want to go to school in Illinois Because my mom makes really good lasagna and I'm going home every Sunday night. Okay, all kinds of things, that questions that need to start to be asked, not at 15U, just think down the road, because when I have meetings with everybody at 17U, I'm asking these questions like, I'm not gonna notify every school in America. So I need to hunker this down a little bit and figure out what you're interested in. And every kid is interested in different, and obviously over 15 to 17U, all their choices are going to change. Just something to let you know when I sit down with families when they get older, that's some of the things I'm trying to narrow down. And there's other things like, does the coach play 10 players? Well, they only play 6. Do they play fast? Do they play slow? Do they shoot a lot of threes? I'll have that information, and your kid might be a good three-point shooter and I want to go and shoot threes. I might be a tall player and they like the bigs, all kinds of stuff like that, okay? All right, I put a thing in here, and it's as far as, and you're only 15U, so like I said, it's not pertaining to you now because you have so much development and you're going to grow, the kids are going to grow, but we are, to a fault, and I for sure, extremely honest with everyone where I see your kid, okay? Now, a lot of AAU programs are not going to do that. They're going to be dishonest with you, or they're going to stretch the truth. I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. I'm too old. It's not a big deal to me. You know what I mean? It's just not, okay? So when we sit down, if you want an honest assessment of where your son is, I'd be happy to give it to you. If I'm not familiar with your son, I'll get the information from one of the coaches or the trainers. But that's a big deal. You should value that as a parent. You should say, I want an honest answer. When you talk to their teachers, they don't say, hey, he's getting he's getting a 97 when he's getting a 67. And we're going to do the same thing here. You pay good money to be here, and we're going to do that. And the great thing about you guys, because you're so young, nobody knows where your kids are going to turn out. Nobody knows. You have a long way to go. Okay? But there are certain hard truths that you all know as parents. You've already gone through high school. How big are you? How strong are you? How fast are you? I always use the examples of, when I talk to college coaches, sometimes it's almost demeaning when I'm talking to them about the kids because I'm talking to them like they're a racehorse. They got long arms. They run the 40-yard dash, all that stuff. But those are all the things that really matter. Okay? All right. I put in stuff here. Division 1, 2, and 3, just, how many kids play Division 1, what does it look like? And then after that, I also put in time constraints and how dedicated do you have to be a college athlete? A lot of the kids, especially at 15U, they see the kids on TV and they're like, hey man, this is great. They don't see the 13th or 14th player on the bench that goes to practice every day and never plays, right? So they have to understand that this is a tough deal. So time management. Give you an example. Like I'll bring up my daughter a lot just because I've gone through it with her. I went through it with my other two who are basketball players, but she played at such a high level. When she was at Louisville, every day she had to be at the facility at 7 a.m. and she couldn't leave till 2:30. Every class had to be after 2:30, and she had breakfast and lunch there, and strength training and practice there every morning. Like if you don't love it, you're going to dislike it real quick, okay? So my point is, they have to understand that it's a lot of work, okay? It's fantastic. She transferred to Western Michigan. She loves it there. She loves it. She's really into it. I have a senior daughter. Multiple Division I schools contacted her. She saw her older sister all the time and was like, hey, I don't think I want to do this. Can you just pay Dad? Sure. You know what I mean? Okay? But you know your kids. My point is, and she did the right thing. She went all the way through 17U to see her options. You know what I mean? She wanted to see where am I getting, and she had some really good options. And you should do that with your children. Go all the way through, because, it gets hard and they're like, well, maybe I don't know about this or that. Go all the way through, give it your best shot. Then when you're our age, or a little younger than me, but you understand like, hey, I gave it my all. I knew what, and sometimes you leave stuff on the table. That's not what you want to do. You want to be here and figure it out. So she was very happy to do that. Another thing about the travel and all the stuff over the next 3 years, make sure with your son, it's not just basketball 24 hours a day. You want a little, I know this is a recruiting meeting, you want a little advice, and you might have older children, but it's more than just the basketball. It's the plane rides, it's the hotels, it's the car rides, all that stuff. They're going to remember that. They're not going to remember the games. Okay, just a little bit, as an old timer. All right, let's see here. What do we got next? All right, so I went over the scholarships, 13 for Division I, 10 for Division II, and 8 for NAIA and 0 for Division III. Now, what does your son have to do academically to be eligible for one of these scholarships? Now, with the COVID, this has gone back and forth. As of January 23rd of January, whatever, standardized testing is not a requirement to receive an athletic scholarship. Okay? Now, if you have any kids in college or are starting to apply that are non-athletes, you know that about 2/3 of all schools right now are not asking for an ACT, SAT score, which I think is good, puts less pressure on the kids. Just because you got a 21 on the ACT doesn't mean you're doomed for the rest of your life. We all know that, okay? So that is not part of the requirement. Now, a school could come in and say, nope, we want you to take the test, we want to know where you're at. But even the Ivy League schools, a lot of them are not requiring SAT, ACT to get in, okay? All of your kids will take, because it's a law in the state of Illinois, in April of their junior year will take the SAT. So you'll get some type of score, and I'm sure you're getting information now. They take the practice PSAT every year. But those are all things that right now are not required. Now, so what they do base your eligibility on is 16 core courses, okay? And I put that in here. Now, if you were to go up to your high school or where your kids go, and if they go to a big public school here in the western suburbs, most likely all of their classes are what we call NCAA approved. If you looked in their program of studies and looked for classes, most classes that they take are going to be NCAA approved. Now, I'll give you a chance, or give you an example where it may not be. Your kid's a senior, they're tired of English, they need 4 years of English for the NCAA, and they're like, hey mom, hey dad, I want to take an elective. It's called Chicago Lit from 1940 to 1960. That elective may not be NCAA approved. Does that make sense? So, if I was you, I would have your son go into the counselor's office, make an appointment, and say, I want to be a college athlete, and I want to know what classes are NCAA approved, what have I taken first semester that was approved, those kind of things. They should have ownership in the recruiting process and what they're up against, okay? And it's a good thing for them to take ownership of their own education, even though I know they're very young, okay? So, the GPA for those 16 core classes is 2.3, okay? So it's not super high, but when I ask kids at 17U, I create all these bios, and when I'll do it for your son when he's older, and we're sending out information to college coaches, I have their GPA. And they're like, I'm saying, Johnny, what's your GPA? Oh, it's a 3.8, coach. Well, it's only a 3.8 for these. It's not because I took underwater basket weaving, got an A, I got an A in lunch, and I killed it in ceramics. They don't care about that. Does that make sense? Okay? So these are the classes that are important. But like I said, most classes are NCAA approved. Okay? And I'll talk this in a little bit, and they talk about what is a core course, but this, like I said, it's more information than you need. Okay? All right. So when are these coaches coming out to watch kids? They're watching kids all the time on Baller TV, and they're coming out to events. Now, at 15U, couple of things. There's not a lot of college coaches coming out to watch a 15U kid unless he's 7 feet tall. But the other things, there are going to be coaches around. Coaches are going to ask me about our younger groups, and your son needs to learn how to play within our system and how to play in events where people are watching and there's a lot of hubbub and stuff. So it holds a lot of value. Now, what is called a live period. Does anybody know what a live period is? No? Okay. A live period? Okay. So I put live period. This is all information in here. This is what a live period is. Your son is going to play in tournaments all the time. There are certain tournaments that are labeled NCAA live period. And what that means is every Division I coach during that time can come out and watch your son play. So when I have older kids and the parent says, hey, I don't think my kid's Division I, So what do I care if it's a live period? Because the Division III coach can see my kid all the time. The reason that is important is during those live events, every single college coach is coming out. And here's why they're coming out. They're recruiting, but they're also networking. I'm a Division III coach. I know Division I coaches are going to be everywhere. I can network, I can be out. It's a big party. They're traveling. They're all going down to Louisville. They're all going to Las Vegas. So they are out. Staffs are like, I have 3 assistants. One's going here, one's going here, and one's going here. So that's why they're important, okay? Now, a couple years ago for the boys, it used to be that college coaches were only coming out to club events or AAU events. Then a couple years back, in your high schools, we're getting what they call live events, and they are in June. Okay, did we have anybody's son play varsity this year? Okay, and boys, it's really hard for a kid to play up. Girls, it happens much more in girls. So, when they get to those live events in June, they play with their high schools. So, there's a couple really good events in the state of Illinois. There's one at Riverside Brookfield High School. The following week, there's one at Ridgewood. You're talking 100 and 120 teams, and it's very well attended by college coaches. So you could try to find out down the road, is your high school coach advocating for his team to be in these events? Does that make sense? Because it's not mandatory, and there's not everyone in the state is not there. I mean, we're in really good events. Couple reasons, because we have good relationships with Prep Hoops, we have our Adidas sponsorship, and we're a really big club. People like to have us at their events, but it's not mandatory. So for the high school coach could say, well, in June I go camping. I'm not going anywhere with the high school team. So you just don't know. But if your son is a college player, those events in June are important. So you might ask your son, like, hey, do you even know if your high school attends those? Okay? If you go to a really big high school and they have a pretty good program, I'm a betting man that they're either in that event already or trying to get into that. Okay? And there's 5 events for this live period. Now, a Division III coach can come out every weekend. For my older guys, I have them come out to practice. They love that. Now, the reason why Division I coaches can only come out at certain times and they let a Division III guy go all the time is money. They try to control, like, okay, these Division III guys they're not getting on a private plane, so they give more access to the kids. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's kind of what happens. And like I said, you have two high school events. So actually, you guys have 6 events. So now, I put in here the whole cycle of the recruiting calendar, just to give you an example. You don't need to read it, and it's got all kinds of stuff. Quiet period, dead period. You don't need to know any of that stuff. I gave you a list of terms and what it means, but you don't need to know it, okay? You do need to know that a college coach can call your son directly on June 15th between sophomore and junior year. Division III coach can call you. They're not going to call anybody unless you're 17U. They're not going to call a 15-year-old, anything like that. But usually those guys that are getting those calls are physically way ahead of everybody. Does that make sense? Okay? And they can call between their junior and sophomore year. So I gave you all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Okay. I don't want to lose anything. All right. What you can do, what I'd like for you to do, there's a high school timeline. It says 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. First one says register. There is a website called Eligibility Center, okay? And some of you might be familiar with it. All it is, it's free. You go on, you create a profile for your son. It used to be called Clearinghouse. They change the name all the time. But when they get older, like say they're a junior, they're going to ask their high school counselor to upload their grades onto that website. So college coaches can look at your profile all the time. And we need to do that, okay? It's not mandatory, but as they get older, they're going to ask me, hey, is he on the center or not? So it's something that you can do. So there's a bunch of steps in here about things, but it's you're not behind. Your guys are 15U. It's not a big deal, okay? But that's something that I would like for you to do, and it's in there. Okay. All right. When they get older, some of the things that I do, I inundate all the coaches. Every year I have an Excel sheet of every coach, boys and girls, Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAI. I have everyone's information. So when our guys older go to certain tournaments, if they go to Rock Hill, South Carolina, I've already hit everyone in the Midwest with bios and this and that, all this information about the players. I'll inundate that area. Hey, we're coming to town. This is our schedule for these teams, and these are some of the players that you need to be looking at. And it'll have your son's Twitter and have his GPA and all that. It doesn't mean a lot now at 15U, but all of that will be coming. That's my job, okay? I just try to hit them with as much information as possible in a very calculated way, okay? Elite camps, let me go over that. So after this year, they may get some invites to an elite camp. An elite camp normally means a college is hosting a camp on campus. Let's say it's Lewis University in Romeoville, Division II. They invite 50 kids out for an elite camp. They're going to invite some different ages. That holds value most of the time because it's on campus and it's like 50 kids, okay? Now, you get an invite and you're like, you know, it doesn't say my son's name is Bobby and it doesn't say Bobby, it just says player. So is it a money grab? You could find, you know, we could try to find out. I could call the coach like, hey, you sent this elite camp. Do you even know who the kid is? So I could try to disseminate for you. So does it hold value? Now, on the flip side, your son needs to go to some of these because they need to learn how to look good in an environment that's not team-oriented. Does that make sense? Like when they play for us, we want them to share the ball. We want them to be smart. We want them to, you go there, you know, you got to kind of, you know, you can't be the nicest guy all the time. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to put your imprint. So there is value and they learn how to play in some of that stuff. Exposure events like Prep Hoops. We use Prep Hoops a lot. They're probably the #1 publication in the state of Illinois. One of the other reasons I'm here. I'm very close with their head writer in the state of Illinois. I talk to him probably 3 times a week. That gives your son an advantage because I know them. If I say, hey, this kid, he should be ranked blah, 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 or this, that, the other thing, they're going to look at the kid. I know the owner of Prep Hoops, okay? So another advantage of being old. So just things like that. So those hold value. So I put that on there, 15, 16, 17U, just some of the things that should be on your radar that you should do for your son if he ultimately wants to play college basketball, okay? All right, transfer portal. I'm going to talk for 2 seconds about the transfer portal. You're like, why are you talking about a college transfer portal? You're 15U. Just going to give you a little information because when you get 17U, the transfer portal will matter. So the transfer portal is, I'll use an extreme example. I'm at the University of Iowa. I'm a basketball player. I'm a freshman. I play 5 minutes a game. At the end of the year, I don't like it. I'm calling mom and dad every day. I never play. I want out of here. So you can go into the transfer portal. You guys can't see it, but all the college coaches can see it. You go into the transfer portal, and other colleges can think about, hey, maybe we would like the kid from the University of Iowa. Okay? Now, the portal goes live for men's and women's basketball on Monday. So on Selection Sunday tomorrow, the day after, if you want to go into the portal as a college player, you can go in. And that portal lasts for 60 days. Okay? Now, our first live event where kids can play in front of college coaches for the boys is in April. So I just had the 17U boy parents in here earlier. Down the road, if they keep this same schedule, that first live event will not be well attended by college coaches in person. Now, that being said, they're still going to watch on Bala TV. If you're a college recruiter, recruiting never stops. It's 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They're going to watch. They're still recruiting. But during that 60 days, some of those coaches are going to stay on campus, and they're going to wine and dine other kids from other schools. Does that make sense? Okay. And just a little bit about how the portal works. My daughter went into the portal last year and not at a very good time. She went very, very late in the portal. She played at Louisville, played all the time, started almost every game, okay, as a freshman. She gets to the end, she doesn't think it's a good fit. She's not happy with the coach, and even though she's playing all the time. So I said, okay, so I don't know anything about soccer, which is fantastic because then I can just clap. So I call her, I can't call the coach, so I call the club coach where she played. So I called myself on the basketball side, but I'm calling the soccer. And I say, hey, what do you think she should do? Is anybody going to call? He's like, they'll call because she's a freshman and she played a lot. I said, are you sure? We're in this portal. We went into the portal like the first week of June, and they start practice August 1st. It's like you go into the portal next week, you're not playing basketball until the following October for basketball. We went in way late. Of course, you know, it's my daughter, so she hemmed and hawed about transferring, and now it's push comes to shove, and now we got to go into the portal. And literally what happens is you let administration know, you go into the portal, she calls me, she goes, I'm in the portal. I said, okay. It was like a Monday morning or something. I wait literally 1 hour, I text her. Has anybody texted or called you? Nope. I wait another hour. Has anybody emailed you? Has anybody texted you? Nope. So now I'm like, okay, well, maybe we're not, this is not gonna go well. On about the 5th hour, people started calling and she had like 50 offers. It went really well. But the research shows that most of the time when kids transfer, they don't get as many minutes as they were getting at their original school, okay? So point being, that first week in April, when your kids get older, if we keep the current schedule, it won't be well attended in person, but that doesn't mean they're not watching. They are watching because these guys they're always looking for players, high school player or a college player, it doesn't matter, okay? So that's a little bit about the portal. I want to talk a little bit about Twitter again. Not about what your son should have on it, but just Twitter as a whole. We live in an area in the Chicago suburbs. Chicago is a horrible, horrible cesspool for Twitter, meaning clubs are always exaggerating or outright lying about what they put on Twitter. We are not going to do that here at all at any point in time. And the reason we like to have integrity, and the college coaches do not like it at all. So, you know, you might see a kid that gets an offer and it's probably not bothering you much, but it's gonna bother your son, especially when they get older. I just played against this kid, I lit him up, he's terrible, and now he got this offer, why didn't I get that offer, and blah, blah, blah. So the joke here is drink responsibly when it comes to Twitter, because a lot of it, just like in other walks of life, it's complete nonsense. You know, they may hand out an offer and, you know, the same one scholarship that they have, they've offered it to 20 kids, okay? And I always ask the parents, you know, I've had, you know, older parents say, well, so-and-so got this offer. Okay, is your son interested in going there? Oh, he would never go there. Well, then what could you possibly care? You only need the right fit. And I'm going to keep going back to that academically, socially, whether, you know, what's their major. Right fit is what matters, because we have a girl going to Indiana this year. She's, you know, they're top 5 in the country. You know, besides her, is anybody making the WNBA? Is anybody making the NBA? Probably not. NBA has 450 jobs, so your son is going to have to go to work after 4 years of college. You want to set them up for the best that they can, right? We all work. We all know how hard it is out there, and we want to set them up for the most success. That's my job, and we're trying to create that. Okay. All right. So yeah. So please drink responsibly when it comes to Twitter. The recruiting calendar, as far as when your kids get older, because of that portal, it's a little spread out and a little bit later. Some of our D3 guys, they've only signed their scholarship and their package in the last 6 or 8 weeks, because they were waiting and still visiting and stuff like that. So your Division I guys are going to get the most information and the most offers and most attention early on. And then if you think you're a Division I kid, and then you're talking to, there's Division I kids they're going to talk to Division I players that are never going to get offered, and then they know, okay, I might have to sign with a D2 because I didn't get a D1. Does that kind of make sense? So it kind of trickles down. So my point is, like this year, you know, and like last week, we had a kid signed like 3 months ago. Now he's a D3 kid. Now he's changed his mind. So mom and dad called me last week, hey, he doesn't want to go here anymore. Okay, let me go back to my notes, who was recruiting him, blah, blah, blah. So, and we're going from there. So the cycle is different for every single buddy. You know, if you're 7 feet tall and a McDonald's All-American, your life is real easy. For everybody else, it's a complicated issue because we're trying to find the right fit. So just please be patient when your kid gets older. Like I said, I know they're 15 and that's, you know, you're going to hear this speech again next year. I'll spice it up. I'll have better jokes. But my point is, and you'll forget most of it anyways, and you should, but just be conscious of, you just are looking out for your son and the right fit for him, especially academically. Okay? All right. Do we have any questions about anything? Anything? Come on, guys. You got to have something. Yes?
Where does M-XIV, I guess, when we think about the high school coach versus M-XIV, how do I think about the two and just...
That relationship?
Yeah.
Okay, so great question. What is our relationship here at M-XIV with most high school coaches? With most high school coaches, it's really good. Here's why. One, I was a high school coach for a very long time. So I know somebody, I either know the staff or I know someone that knows the staff. Okay? I'll give you an example. All of last week, for all of our 35 kids that are going to be on signing day on Wednesday night here, I contacted all the coaches, the high school coaches, and said, listen, we would really like to have you be here. You've been a big part of their life, blah, blah, blah. So my point is, we want a very good relationship with the high school coaches. It does us no good not to be on the same page. Their role is different. What they're trying to accomplish is different. In a simpler term, some of the jokes that I learn that I express when it comes to high school, and I was a high school coach for a very long time. You know, their main job is to win at the varsity level. It's also to create, you know, young men that knows what it means to work and to be disciplined. And I think 99% of them are trying to do that. I really do. I think they're good people. They're underpaid, and it's a lot of work. And boys basketball in the winter or girls basketball is very long. My job, not so much. My job is to put everyone in college. My job is not to win games. Okay? Do we like to win? Of course. We want to and we want to win. But my success is gauged on the 35 kids out there on signing day. You know what I mean? I don't need you going to a cocktail party on Friday night and Johnny's team is undefeated, but he ain't getting no better. He's not developing, he's not getting better. Does that make sense? So that's how my success is gauged here. And there's, and to be honest, I get paid very well, but there's a lot of pressure to that. You know what I mean? We have a big, giant Adidas sponsorship. I coach the top team that there is here. I have to do well. Most of the coaches don't have to do well. I have someone to answer to, not just Matt Miller, but Adidas. It means something, okay? So there's a different ball game with that. I mean, you have to get used to that, okay? But yes, but we definitely want a great relationship with all the high school coaches. Anything else? Yes?
Let's say our high school program isn't the best. How does that affect our students?
Okay. Yeah. So the question was about their high school. Maybe their high school basketball program doesn't have the best reputation, or mom and dad feel the coach is not as committed. You as parents, that's totally up to you. That's totally up to you. About how you address that. That's a tricky situation for us, right? You know what I mean? We're trying to do everything humanly possible. And I think the point that you're making, you see high school basketball, I mean, there's almost, like we joke that there's a transfer portal for high school kids, right? Because they're on the move every year. They're going here and there and there and there because they're being lied to. They're being told it's going to be, blah, blah, blah. But, there's, you could talk to the athletic director at your high school or whatever the case may be, or talk to that coach directly. But I don't know, I don't really have a lot to say about that, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't get directly involved at that. We're trying to have a very good relationship with them. Yes?
A follow-up question to that. As far as for getting into college, how much does high school basketball affect it versus...
Okay, so question was, how much does a high school coach get involved in college recruiting? Now, There's a couple things that when I was a high school player, a high school coach was everything, right? But think about the high school coach. If every year the high school coach never has a Division I player, maybe he's got 2 Division III players. He's not, in his defense, he or she is not in contact with college coaches all the time, so they don't know anybody. Not because they're bad people, but nobody's calling them because they don't have the players, right? Now, some of the live periods in June now have alleviated some of that, where they are starting to talk to more college coaches. But if you're a high school coach and you never have a Division I player, you're never talking to Division I players, right? Where, I'm talking to them all the time. You know what I mean? It doesn't make me a better person. It's just what we have here. So that is, some high school coaches go out of their way more to kind of help if they do have some relationships, and you know who those people are. You know what I mean? So it's just, everybody's different. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yes?
So I have a question. Our high school is notorious for not caring about our athletes.
Okay. Don't tell me the name.
You know what the name is? I mean, everyone in the district.
So she says the reputation at her high school is not so good with the athletes.
I mean, it's not their priority.
Okay.
So the question then is, because, the investment in the sports program in our high school is not there. I mean, from one sport to another, it doesn't really matter. And the question then is, do you have to play high school basketball? If there's like a different program running at the same time that, is better in that sport because the coaching and the competition is better, like let's say swim or wrestling.
Yeah.
And my son decides that, he's not going to get value add from going 6 days, 7 days a week doing basketball at high school. But
Right.
he has opportunity though to play, to wrestle or to do like indoor track for a season, to do a different sport during that season. Is that even a possibility?
Yeah. So the question is, if I'm not happy with the high school and they, maybe I don't do high school. Maybe I don't want to play because I'm not happy with the administration or whatever the case may be, and maybe I know that they'll get more value playing a different sport during that time, winter, right? My opinion, if you want to play college basketball, that would be a red flag to the college coaches that you did not participate in high school basketball. And the reason I say that is I think most college coaches would perceive that as something that the player or the family is not willing to overcome or take some tough love or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that that's correct. I'm saying that I think that might be their viewpoint. That I definitely think if they wanted to play high school or college basketball, not playing high school basketball would penalize them. Now, basketball is different. Other sports. My daughter played Division I soccer. She plays now. She never stepped on the field at high school. Never. Because the best players in soccer don't play high school soccer.
Well, because when he had to make a choice between swim and basketball, but
Yeah.
if he has club, he might be able to sit there during that season of basketball to swim again.
Yeah. That's a personal family decision.
But you're saying that doesn't look favorable.
I don't think it looks favorable if they want to play college basketball. You know what I'm saying? Then I think it hurts them a little bit. I'm just being honest. Yes?
So kind of a follow-up on
Sure.
the high school topic. If your high school is not a part of those live events that are in June, those 2 locations that you said with 120
Yes.
is that bad from an exposure perspective for your kid? And
It's-
they go to a high school that's not...
It's not the end of the world, but it's just another benefit that your son or daughter gets that other people are not going to get. I don't think it's the end of the world, but that is another benefit. Now, and I don't want to know where they play, but the coach could have tried to get in there and they're full and there's not any spots because everybody can't do it. So we have to be cognizant of that. You call the coach and like, hey, I couldn't get in. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, yes.
Can you talk about like the transition from, let's say our son wanted to play junior college for freshman year.
Yep.
Does really well. What kind of offers would he be getting?
It depends. So like I know, like Triton College. Anybody know where Triton is in Melrose Park? Okay. They're the elite of the elite when it comes to men's basketball for JUCO. They'll have 6 or 7 kids every year. And those kids are there for a variety of reasons. They left high school, didn't have a Division I offer. They thought they were a Division I player. They have to work on their grades. You know, there's a myriad of reasons they go JUCO. But you know, and I'm pro junior college. I know that, you know, some of the players or some of the coaches do a really good job. I've had several players turn down certain opportunities to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, and I think I'm better than that. So as far as basketball, so yes, no, I don't frown upon it at all. Yes.
What about those fifth-year options out there for kids that might be younger, right, in their grade? So they've got, you know, you see all the stuff like, I don't know if it's college prep or whatever.
Yes, yes, yeah.
What are those options looking
So
like?
those options are, there's no uniformity to it. So you might go to one where they're playing like small colleges, another one are just going to play high school. It's kind of like the gray area. So it really depends on, so the question was, some kids don't go to college right away, but they don't stay in high school. So there's that in-between year that they're going to prep schools and things of that nature. So I have a player here that shredded his knee. So now he's thinking about doing a prep school before going off to college because, you know, he shredded his knee senior season. So we're investigating those now, but there's not a lot of uniformity to them. So it's on a case-by-case basis, but it's another way to up your stock without hurting your eligibility. So you'd still have 4 years. But every one is a little bit different about where they play and how long they play and that kind of thing. And how good they are academically, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So some of them you can take college classes at, some of them they don't offer any college classes. So you're just literally there to play basketball. You're going to class, but you've already graduated from high school. So you have to kind of be careful. You know, in the cesspool of basketball, like I'm telling you, like we're always going to be honest with you, there's a lot of instances where, you know, it's a money grab and they're trying to make money. And it's, you know, and they're not looking out for the kids. And it's not good. Yes?
Speaking of money grab, as soon as we registered, we got phone calls from NCSA.
Okay. Yes, yes.
Too, right?
So he's asking about recruiting companies that handle your kids' college recruiting, where they charge you a good buck. You know, some of them are almost $3,000 to help your son with his college recruiting. At my old club, I had one of my coaches actually used to work for one of the prominent ones in the areas. Said they were all good people and they were trying to help kids. I'm going to do almost everything for your kid, and I would keep your money. Okay? I'm not saying, and I'm not saying they don't provide a good service, but I'm going to work really hard for you, and that's one of the services that we provide here at M14. Not saying that they wouldn't be honest, not saying that they didn't work hard, but I'm going to do most of the legwork anyways. So you're going to, you know, why double down? You're already going to have it. Okay? Yep. Anything else? Nothing? You sure? Yes.
What's the climate like around multi-sport athletes? You know, you hear some coaches saying, hey, I don't want a kid that plays basketball 12 months a year.
Yeah.
Someone that's working out other muscle groups and things like that. What's the climate like today?
I think that when colleges are recruiting players, it really doesn't matter to them. You are who you are. Can you help me or not? So I don't think, you know, that's a family choice about, you know, that's something like, you know, when 25 years ago everybody played 3 sports, that's not the case anymore. You know, my soccer daughter, after 7th grade, soccer only. You know, my youngest, basketball, she gave up soccer like 10U. That's it, basketball only. So, you know, I think it depends on the family and it just depends. But the college coaches, it's not going to come into play at all. Can you help me or not? That's it. You know what I mean? It's very, you know what I mean? So, anything else? Nothing? All right, let me give you my cell phone number. You got a question about anything? If you email me, it's going to be, you know, I'm going to get back to you. But if you text me, it's going to pop up on the phone every time. I know I got to hit you back, okay? And we have a lot of teams that I'm very busy, but I will get back to you. And no question is too small. So it's Coach Bill at M14, and my phone number is 630-290-4750. 15. 630-290-4715. And it's Coach Bill, looks really young, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Please, when you text me, let me know who you are. Let me know who your son is, what team they're on. I deal with a lot of people. I don't want to come back as insensitive. I'm being honest with you. We have a lot of players. And I'll get to the question, or I'll get to the answer if it's something that I know, or I'll seek out your coach, or whatever the case may be. Okay? We got it? Anything else? All right. Thanks, guys, for coming in. All right. You got it. Yep, I hope I was helpful a little bit. Thank you, thank you.
I saw your name in the